This is a full and honest review of Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas.
Hey everyone, it's Jenna and Andy from Couple Travelers, and we just got off the Maiden Voyage of Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, not only the newest cruise ship to Royal, but the world's largest cruise ship. And in this video, we're gonna get into all of the pros of this ship, but stay tuned to the end of the video. We're gonna get into what we didn't like about this cruise ship.
Now, before we jump into that full list, just want to note that we paid full price for this sailing. We were not compensated or given any discounts by Royal Caribbean, and we did not attend any of the media or preview sailings that took place prior to the Maiden Voyage. So hopefully you see this as a true, honest, and unbiased review.
So jumping into the pros, one of the best things about Icon of the Seas is by far the crew. And after talking to several crew members throughout our stay, we actually learned that everybody on the ship was hand-picked for Icon. And nobody on the ship is a newbie, basically. Everybody, besides being hand-picked, had to have at least 5 years of experience with Royal Caribbean, which really goes to show that Icon just has the best of the best crew. And we even saw some familiar faces. We went to trivia one day, and the second we heard her voice, we were like, she's from Ovation of the Seas, and we loved her. We did so many of her trivias when we went on our Alaska sailing, and somebody we sat next to at dinner, they said, when they heard that Raj was gonna be a server on Icon, that they immediately requested him for the main dining room. So a lot of people just really enjoyed getting to see some of their favorites, but Icon just really had all of the best servers, bartenders, even the best room attendants. It's just the best of the best.
Now, whenever we go on a vacation, we always want to make note of the great cast members or team members or crew members that helped make our trip so great, and Icon of the Seas was no exception for that. So I want to quickly shout out all the great crew members who we interacted with over the course of our vacation, and that is Manish, Rolene, Sanjeev, Yulia, Carol, Zod, Jerry, Fernanda, Amit, Lawrence, Raj, Lanjen, Roger, Resty, Jerry, Bani, Gabriel, Aaron, and Oliver. Thank you to you guys and so many more for helping make our Icon of the Seas sailing so great. The next pro is related to the Icon of the Seas overall design. Now, we saw in a lot of the promotional marketing that Royal Caribbean was doing before the sailing how much thought and research and consumer insights went into the design. And from us being on the ship firsthand, they really hit it out of the ballpark in terms of reinventing a really logical and intuitive cruise ship design. And really that's defined by how accessible the ship is. For being the largest cruise ship in the world, it is certainly not that difficult to navigate. Now, previously navigating other Royal Caribbean ships, specifically the Oasis class ships, which are the largest ships in the fleet prior to Icon, was pretty difficult. In order to get to Central Park, to the Royal Promenade, for example, you would need to walk to one of the elevator banks or the staircases at either end of the ship and then walk to the floor that you're actually going to. Now you have a direct link between some of these different neighborhoods, which just makes the ship that much more accessible. For example, they have a direct staircase that links Central Park to the Royal Promenade. They have escalators that directly link the Royal Promenade to Casino Royale. And you could get to Surfside, which is the family neighborhood on the ship. From decks 6, 7, and 8, they all filter into that one neighborhood in one area. So just really easy to get around the ship overall.
The next pro is how well these neighborhoods are actually grouped together, where you don't really need to go far throughout the day. You really can just hang and stay in one neighborhood. So I remember when we first were thinking about our trip, we were like, it's what, a quarter of a mile from like one end of the ship to the other end. We're like, we're gonna be exhausted just walking everywhere. But the way they designed the ship was that you can almost just pick a neighborhood and stick there for the day. They have places to sit and relax. They have your pools or activities for the day. They have places to eat. Everything that you need in each neighborhood, just designed for like whatever mood that you're in. So it's just really well designed and themed to keep you in kind of one spot. so that you're not walking everywhere and having to go to a million places to get everything that you need out of an experience to make a full, fulfilling day.
The next pro is Surfside, which is a brand new neighborhood to the Icon class of ships. And this neighborhood is all about families. When Royal Caribbean designed Icon of the Seas, they wanted to seek out to create the ultimate family vacation, and a big part of that was creating Surfside, basically a neighborhood where families could just spend the entire day. And to the previous pro that we talked about, you have everything you need at your fingertips, from your dining to your entertainment, even your candy. There's Sugar Beach in Surfside. So what we noticed with that dedicated neighborhood was that there weren't a lot of kids in other parts of the ship because they were all hanging out with their parents in Surfside. So things like the Windjammer, there were a lot less kids running around because you have Surfside Eatery, which is a buffet in Surfside. So that was a really great way to help spread out some of the different groups of people that were on the ship.
We even noticed just in general, you know, he mentioned the Windjammer. Usually the Windjammer on port days, Windjammer for breakfast would just be packed with people regardless, and especially, you know, families. That was just something in general was a lot less crowded. Surfside and then the Royal Bay Pool always saw a lot of kids, but other than that, it was like we just saw other areas of the ship in general had a lot less kids around because of those dedicated family spaces. Another great pro is that with a ship this size, the way they designed the neighborhoods to really be able to disperse crowds is that we rarely found the ship to ever be crowded. And I know for the Maiden Voyage, it was rumored to be about 80% capacity, but even so, I think the way that the ship is designed to be able to handle even a full 100% capacity, I think it still will be able to manage that and not feel crowded. The only time we ever experienced a true crowded environment is in two spots, and that is the swim up bar, swim and tonic, and the Hideaway, which is the suspended infinity pool, which is the adults only area of the ship. Those are just small areas that can only fit so many people. So no matter what, those areas are always going to feel crowded. Other than that, the ship never felt crowded to us, and it just speaks to how well the ship was designed. And just traveling on a ship this big, there's so many places for people to go. It really disperses the crowd really well. Sometimes you may think with bigger ships that actually means bigger crowds, but it can actually be the opposite, that you may find bigger crowds on smaller ships because there's less places for people to go.
And there's another pro that is thanks to how great Icon of the Seas design is, and that is how many things show you the ocean or actually face the ocean. Again, when Royal Caribbean was taking a lot of guest feedback into consideration when they were designing Icon of the Seas, people wanted to see more of the ocean. You're on a sea day, you're sitting in a pool, you want to be able to see the ocean, and you want to be able to see that from interior parts of the ship as well. So on Icon class of ships, you are now able to see the ocean from Central Park and the Royal Promenade, which you weren't able to do on Oasis class ships. And that is all thanks to the Pearl, which is this really cool kinetic sculpture on the ship, and it's actually very integral to the overall ship structure, which will allow them to open up the side of the ship to allow you to see the ocean from the Royal Promenade and Central Park. In other neighborhoods, you have pools that directly face the ocean, and then even the Flow Rider, which is a fan favorite that they brought to Icon of the Seas. It now is flipped 180 degrees, so that way when people are taking photos of you on the Flow Rider, the ocean is in the background and not the opposite. If you found this video helpful so far, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel.
And if you're interested on sailing on Icon of the Seas or any of Royal Caribbean ships, I'd love to help you with that. I am a travel agent, and in case you didn't know, it is completely free to work with a travel agent. So if you're interested in more information or a no obligation quote, I'll put my email address in the video description below. Another great pro on Icon is that there are so many relaxing and inviting places to sit, especially in Chill Island. I mean, that is pretty much what Chill Island is all about. Then you have the Overlook, which is at the front of the ship, where you can hang out in these cool pods and have panoramic ocean views, and you have awesome spots in Central Park. Pretty much every neighborhood and every bar and spot in the ship has unique spots to sit and relax, way more than I've seen on any of Royal Caribbean's other ships.
This is also the most colorful ship Royal Caribbean has ever built. It is vibrant, it is bright, it is just a ship that you want to be sailing on in the Caribbean. And that is inclusive of everywhere from Chill Island to Central Park. So overall, it's just a fun looking ship to be on.
The next pro is the Hideaway, which we have briefly mentioned before. Again, that is the suspended infinity pool, which is at the back of the ship and is adults only. So you have to be 18 or over to go to the Hideaway. And in case you didn't know, originally this was gonna be all ages, and you can still tell because the bathrooms in this section are actually named like family bathrooms, so you can still tell that this was designed originally to be all ages. And about a week before the Maiden Voyage, they made the switch that it was gonna be adults only, and the original adults only section was gonna be Cloud 17, and I'm glad they made the switch. The Cloud 17 pool is still great, but much smaller. And we spent so much time in the Hideaway. We loved the wake views, and this was one of our favorite spots to watch sail away. Sailing away from ports like Perfect Day at Coco Key, it's an awesome view as you're sailing away.
We also really like the Aquadome Market on Icon of the Seas. This is a new complimentary dining concept that Royal Caribbean introduced that really pulled inspiration from other cruise lines to have this kind of like food hall style area to kind of complement a place like the Windjammer, which is your more traditional buffet. So inside the Aquadome Market, you have Max, Feta Mediterranean, Creme de la Crepe, Toast and Garden, and Ginger, a variety of cuisines. We ate there on our embarkation day to kind of avoid the Windjammer crowds, and it was the right move. If you want to hear more about the Aquadome Market, we're going to be putting out a full dining overview for Icon of the Seas coming to the channel very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you do not miss that video.
Our next pro is Dueling Pianos.
This should almost be top of the list.
Why didn't we lead with this? Because we were so blown away by this. So this is a venue in the Royal Promenade, and it's a dueling piano bar. We had so much fun here. We were like, oh, we'll go stop by. We didn't leave for 3 hours. And we went back like several times. Whoever came up with Dueling Pianos, bravo. We actually made a video, like an awards video for Icon of the Seas, and Dueling Piano got our Put This on Every Ship award. We absolutely loved this concept. It was so popular. You could tell like anybody walking the Royal Promenade was immediately drawn to it. There was always a crowd of people, and they had a double-sided bar. So people would be like walking the Royal Promenade, and then they would just like come up to this side of the bar, and the second a table opened, like people were fighting for it. Very exciting when you get a table.
Now, on the topic of entertainment, not surprisingly, Icon of the Seas entertainment was stellar. Absolutely amazing. Nick Weir, the SVP of entertainment for Royal Caribbean, was on our sailing. We saw him at the ice show and the Aquadome, kind of like the proud father, watching his productions really start coming to life and people truly enjoying them. And when we mention entertainment, we're talking about like the main production shows. There's a lot of other great entertainment that happens around the ship, from the schooner bar to Dueling Pianos to the pub where they have like a guitar players in Central Park. But the main productions are The Wizard of Oz in the Royal Theater, which was
best show by far.
Broadway style, if not more. You had Aqua Action in the newly designed Aqua Theater in the Aquadome neighborhood, and then you had Starburst Elemental Beauty in the Absolute Zero venue, which replaces Studio B from some of the other Royal ships, which was a smaller ice skating rink. They specifically designed Absolute Zero so skaters could go faster and do different tricks, and that was really evident in how great that show was. So overall, across the board, all the kind of premier productions on Icon of the Seas were amazing.
And to wrap up the pros, we really need to give a special shout out to Thrill Island. Royal really stepped up their game for this section of the ship. There is a lot of thrills happening in this section. And 3 things in particular we like to call out. First is theming in general. It's really well themed here. You know, when you look at Base Camp, which is one of the eateries, and just the theming of how everything comes together with, you know, the flow rider and the different water slides themed to category 6, and the bars and the golf course, and how everything comes together is really beautiful. Next is Crown's Edge.
And the theming extends into Crown's Edge a little bit because
For sure.
they actually, before you get on the actual activity, they have a little backstory that explains why you're doing this.
I remember sitting here watching the preview video when they were announcing like what's happening for Icon of the Seas, and them showing what Crown's Edge was gonna be. Like, what? And I'm being like, I'm doing that. And it was incredible. And like my coworkers were like, you did that? And like, I'm so glad that we did that, first of all. And yes, it was expensive. Yes, it's an upcharge. I think it was worth it, and I think you agree.
Yes.
You do get to go twice, and you get a video included with the cost of the Crown's Edge.
I think if the video, which I was fully expecting the video to be an incremental charge, I thought that might have pushed it over the edge to not being worth it. So I think Royal certainly made the right choice by including that in something that's already an upcharge.
Right. I do think though, Royal, you should also give us the photo. And you only get the video of the first time you go around. If Royal was to ever listen to our feedback, I would say 1, you should allow people a video and a photo from their experience, and you should let them watch both and pick which is better, their first video or their second video. Because I think my second video would have been better because I knew what I had already experienced, and I think my face would have been better. So that would be my feedback. But it was an awesome experience, and I would highly, highly recommend it.
In addition to some guest favorites in Thrill Island, like the Flow Rider and Adrenaline Peak, which is the rock climbing wall, Royal Caribbean also has the Category 6 water park, which they really stepped their game up when it comes to water slides. On some other ships, you might see 2 to 3 water slides. They have 6 of them. They're all record-breaking in the Category 6 water park, and they all had different levels of thrill to them. And in some ways, they kind of are comparable to the water slides on Perfect Day at Coco Keys. You know, a good tip, if you are a little taken aback by the price tag of an Icon sailing, a good way to save some money if you were originally planning to go to Thrill Island on Perfect Day at Coco Key, I think you could get an equally good experience by just doing the complimentary water slides at Thrill Island. Now, as much as we love Icon of the Seas, at the top of the video we said this is a honest and unbiased review, so there are some things that we didn't like about the ship, and we're gonna get into those now. The first of which is, as much as the ship's size is a pro, it's also a con. Because being the largest cruise ship in the world, it comes with so many of these great activities, but that means there's just so much to do. And on a week-long sailing, which is what Icon of the Seas is doing for the next couple of years, that could be very overwhelming to do in 7 days. So if you want to get to Chill Island and get all the water slides in Thrill Island and see all the shows and do this and that, you're gonna be hard pressed to do that in a week. So we actually just put out a video for Icon of the Seas tips that we have after sailing on the Maiden Voyage, and one of our tips is actually to make an Icon of the Seas bucket list. So if you want to hear more specifics about what that entails, we'll link that video in the description below.
Another con was the crowds in the Hideaway and the swim-up bar. We were so excited for these concepts because they were brand new, they were so unique, especially the swim-up bar. If you've watched the channel before, you know I love swim-up bars, so I was most excited for this. But pretty much except for one time, it was always jam-packed. And also, hot take, the swim-up bar concept does not belong in Chill Island.
I think this is something that's really good in theory, but not the best in execution, specifically with where they placed it in the ship.
Because right across the way is this beautiful section of these like nice like loungers and couches and tables, like all like meant for relaxation. and then it's like drunk people at a swim-up bar. The first time we went there, we sat down and we like ordered a drink, and then there's people like, shots, shots, shots. That is not what I have in mind for Chill Island.
Right, a swim-up bar in a silo, that's the kind of crowd you expect. So I think our feedback is like, maybe rethink where it's placed on the ship so you can still give people what they want with the swim-up bar, because again, great idea, but maybe rethink its place.
I think it needs to like pick it up, because like, I mean, I like a shot environment. Like I'm not like against that. It was just like, it's not for the chill environment. Pick it up and put it in the Hideaway.
Yeah.
So that just didn't make sense. And the Hideaway, it had times where it was really crowded, mostly sea days.
Yeah.
And we had times where we had our own little section of like the Hideaways in 3 sections. We had a time where we had our own little third to ourselves. That was mostly like, I'd recommend going on a port day, like when we come back from an excursion, then heading to the Hideaway again, because you get the great views leaving port. It was just like hit or miss, but when it's crowded, it's really crowded.
The next con is that GoPros or similar cameras are not allowed on the water slides on the ship, which we were kind of surprised by because they are allowed on the water slides on Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And we saw some footage prior to the Maiden Voyage of POVs of the water slides that media and influencers took and then posted online. So it's clearly not like a legal liability or an issue of safety if people are doing it. So it was just a little bit of a disconnect why your paying guests couldn't take a GoPro on the slide, because we know how to use it. We're not irresponsible with it. And we really wanted it to be something to show you guys what the water slides are, and it kind of creates memories too, right? Like these are our vacations, so it's kind of a miss.
Just in general, as a paying guest, you're on a really cool ship doing cool things. You're gonna wanna capture memories in general to share on social media, show your friends back home what you're doing. So it just seems like a little bit of a lost opportunity that Royal doesn't allow its guests to record on the slides. Another con is that it's hard to find bathrooms in Thrill Island when you're running around the water park. They are, for reference, in the back of Thrill Island when you're looking over the Hideaway, and the other one is over by Crown's Edge. And the problem is on Icon of the Seas, there is this like sensor technology to lock and open the bathroom doors. And especially the ones that are overlooking the Hideaway at the back of Thrill Island, there are 2 bathrooms, one of which just didn't work and was just like permanently locked for the first 5 days of the sailing. The other one, and we finally learned halfway through the sailing how to properly use these locks. And if you want a full description of how to use these bathrooms properly, we went into this in the tips video of like how to work these bathrooms. But you wave the sensor to get the bathroom door to open, and it's a single, like one at a time use bathroom. You need to let the door fully open all the way before you wave the door close. If you don't, anybody who walks by will signal the sensor and the door will open while you're going to the bathroom. That is a huge con, because that is what people were impatient. They were having to go to the bathroom, so they would wave it closed when the door hadn't fully opened yet. So let the door fully open before you wave it closed. Make sure the light is red. Otherwise, you are going to give the Hideaway quite a show.
This next con might be a little nitpicky, but I think in the context of adults only areas, will prefer the solarium on other Royal Caribbean ships as opposed to the Hideaway, and the Solarium Bistro as well. When we look at the Hideaway, I think it's a great concept and we really enjoyed it on Icon for what it is. I think when comparing it to the adults only section on other ships, we would have liked to have something with a little bit more shade. So make sure you put on that sunscreen with your sunglasses, wear a hat, like it's gonna get really hot there. So just being on Ovation of the Seas and Harmony of the Seas, other ships that did have a solarium, I think compared to Icon, we missed the solarium and the Solarium Bistro on this ship.
Another con was how hard it was to meet Rover. I was very much looking forward to meet Rover, and as every day went on, I was like, oh my God, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? I did finally see her on the last day. I saw her walking back from Coco Cay, from the private island, and then I saw her again later that night in Central Park. I think Royal needs to come up with some sort of system to alert guests if Rover is on a break or is heading to the bathroom or heading for a meal break or just needs some like alone time, some off time, etc. Because the 2 times that I happened to run into her, I could tell like the handler was just, you know, maybe not having it. Rover was not having it, which is totally fine by all means. But then other people had the exact opposite where they were like, come take a picture, come pet Rover, come do this. And then I also heard the other side where they experienced what I experienced as well. So it just seemed very hit or miss.
We think this might be this might not be the most sustainable model for the chief dog officer going forward. So I think it's a great idea, and it was great that Royal announced it. It brings a lot of fun to an already fun ship, but I think to Jenna's point, there just needs to be more of a process of, I hate to use the Disney term, but like, is there a virtual queue that you kind of sign up for like a meet and greet?
I mean, it was the first sailing, so hopefully like they work out some sort of system like.
Don't have any hesitations about them figuring out a process. This next con is also a little nitpicky, but we really like having a tangible photo studio on a ship. It's a nice thing that you know you're gonna do at the end of your sailing to go look at all the great photos you've taken over the course of the week. And you know, they sell some like GoPros and like other things there. So it's like, it's another thing to do on the ship. And so I think if one of our pieces of feedback is there's already a lot to do on Icon, I think it might make sense. But I think from the experience that it delivers, it was a little lacking. They replaced the photo studio and the shore excursions desk with this area called Behind the Pearl on deck number 5, and it's basically your one-stop shop to get any of those questions answered. So you walk up and there's a crew member there with an iPad, and it kind of gives you, it puts your name in a virtual waiting list, and then when your name is called, the appropriate crew member will help you with your photo questions or a shore excursion question. So I think having those locations was a little bit lacking, because it was just nice to see that you had tangible places to go for those things on a ship.
We actually walked up there on our last night and he was like, how can I help you? And I was like, oh, we'd like to look at our photos. And he was like, oh, you do it on the app. And obviously we knew that because like we could see our photos on the app with the Royal watermark on them, but we like wanted to see it on like a big screen, and that's what we assumed it was for. And he was like, oh no, this is for like if you have issues or if you bought it and you're having trouble downloading, like that sort of thing. And we were like, oh, okay. So not what we were looking for. And last but not least, the final con of Icon of the Seas is that we sure felt nickeled and dimed on this sailing.
This is very much a sentiment of the cruise industry overall, but I think we felt it much more on this ship than other ships that we've been on.
And for Icon, they say that 12 of the 22 dining options are included in your cruise fare. But when I actually started to do the math as I was working on our food overview video, which is gonna be one of the next videos coming out on the channel, it's actually kind of skewing the other way because, well, one of the included ones is Coastal Kitchen, but we're not a suite guest, so that's not an option for us. And they have one of those free options as base camp, but really only 3 of the items are included and the rest were an upcharge. When we went to base camp, we paid. Plus, there are things like, we actually went to the Trellis Bar and we ended up ordering appetizers, and that was our dinner one night, and that's not even part of the 22 options. Plus you have Sugar Beach, plus you have Starbucks, plus you can get stuff at Vitality Cafe at the spa. So it's really more things that are not included than included, plus just more things in general like Crown's Edge that are appealing that you definitely want to buy. Even the gift shop, they kept changing what was in the gift shop every 2 days. So I would buy what I thought I liked, and then they would bring out new stuff.
Well, and another thing too, so we've had our beautiful ship model here of Icon of the Seas, and this was $80 on board, and when we got home, somebody posted a video online of their ship model of Harmony of the Seas, which was about twice the size of this.
And even for guests who buy the unlimited drink package or the unlimited dining package, they still then go to something like Deserted Milkshake Bar, and they still have to shell out, you know, upwards of $20 for a milkshake. Like that seems really insane to me that you're paying, which to me, the unlimited drink package, we were already priced out of that for Icon. It was, we could not drink that much and have it us be in the green. But to pay that and then still not be able to get a milkshake, that is the definition of being nickeled and dimed.
Overall, considering all the pros and some of the cons, we think Icon of the Seas really is the ultimate family vacation. Royal Caribbean really did a great job with designing, building, and bringing the ship to market. So even with some of the cons, they aren't things that Royal can't change. So we hope to see some improvements on Star of the Seas, for example, when she comes to market, and some of the other future ships as well. But overall, we would highly recommend Icon of the Seas as a vacation. And again, if you're looking to sail on her, Jenna can help you out.
But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on social media @ACoupleTravelers.
And until next time, keep traveling.